Good morning, all of you. Today, we are going to discuss the different types of the sampling technique. Here, we have to see why there is need for the sampling process, essentials of sampling, methods of sampling, that is non-probability sampling and probability sampling, errors in sampling. Now, first of all, for the sampling, it is very necessary to introduce the concept of population and universe. In statistics, population and universe denotes the aggregate from which sample is to be taken. A population can be defined as including all people or atoms with the characteristic one wishes to understand. Because there is very rarely enough time or money to gather information from everyone or everything in a population, the goal becomes finding a representative sample of that population or the subset. So, what is a sampling frame? We have to discuss first. Sampling frame is the list from which the potential respondents are drawn. A sample is a smaller collection of units from a population used to determine truths about the population. This slide represents the sampling breakdown. That is, who do you want to generalize to? What population can you get access to? How can you get access to them? And who is in your study? So the theoretical population is different. We have to study the population, then we have to create a sampling frame, and then we can generate the sample. Sampling is the process of learning about population on the basis of sample drawn from it. So there are three elements in process of sampling: selecting the sample, collecting the information, making the inference about the population. So, when we think about the statistics, values obtained from a study of the samples we have to consider, and the parameters, such values from study of the population which we obtain. So, why there is need for the sampling? Because we have to collect the data, and data are of two types: primary data and the secondary data. Primary data is nothing but the original in character, and it is generated in large number of the surveys, whereas the secondary data is obtained from the published sources and the unpublished sources also. When we think why there is need for the sampling, when secondary data are not available for the problem under study, primary data is collected, and there are two methods how we can collect the data: census method and the sample method. Census method is also called as a complete enumeration method. There are some merits and demerits of the census method. The merits are data obtained from each and every unit of the population. Results are more representative, accurate, reliable. Basis of various surveys are there. While we consider the demerit of the census method is what there are more efforts are needed, then more money and the time also. The big problem in underdeveloped countries is regarding the census type of the sampling. Now we have to consider what are the advantages of the sampling. We require the less resources, that is the time as well as the money, less workload. It gives the results with known accuracy that can be calculated mathematically. So the theoretical basis of the sampling is, on the basis of sample study we can predict and generalize the behavior of mass phenomenon. There is no statistical population whose elements would vary from each other without the limit. Laws of statistical regularity. Sample is taken at a random from a population. It is likely to possess same characteristic as that of the population. This is called as the law of statistical regularity. While the law of inertia of the large numbers is nothing but the larger the size of the sample, more accurate the results are likely to be. So we have to carry out the sampling process. The sampling process has the different stages. Defining the population of the concern is the first step.